Hello folks, there's an election coming and the two major parties have told us what they're going to do or not do for the motorist. And folks, there's no bias from me in this reporting, okay? I don't believe in party politics. I happen to think that both major parties exist solely to discredit the other one while the country quietly goes to the toilet in the background. So I'll tell you the major points that they've come up with and give you my unbiased opinion on them. Keir Starmer says that Labour are going to restore the original 2030 ban on new internal combustion engine vehicle sales. Obviously the Tories recently put that back to 2035. Labour want to bring it forward again. That's probably the biggest headline from Labour. To me, it's a little bit pointless because most manufacturers are already geared up to 2030 anyway, from when it was originally set at 2030. So that's probably a bit of a headline grabber, and maybe they think it will grab them a few votes. But in practical terms, I don't think it really makes any difference. Don't forget, used petrol and diesel cars and hybrid cars will be around for donkey's years yet. It's just new cars we're talking about. They're going to invest £1.5 billion to build automotive gigafactories so that we can start producing electric vehicles in the UK in future. I think that's massively important and really positive because we absolutely need those jobs in our country and we need to be manufacturing things again in our country. We don't do anywhere near enough of it. Meanwhile, places like China and India are becoming manufacturing powerhouses. And on top of that £1.5 billion that Labour is saying that they'll inject as a government if they get in, they're also hoping to attract £4.5 billion from private investment and car manufacturers to get even more of that over here, and they say that could attract as many as 160,000 jobs. In its plan for drivers, Keir Starmer also says that Labour will give more guidance to local authorities about building charging infrastructure, particularly how to utilise funds more effectively. What they could do is just relax the planning rules, because at the moment there are loads of private companies that want to install EV charging infrastructure and they're being stopped by local government planning authorities. That's just a fact, and that's happening right now, folks. It's been happening for a long time. Because politicians can't give answers to anything, Keir Starmer dodged a question about if they'd actually reverse the 5p cut to fuel duty. Instead, he just said we're not going to raise income tax or VAT or national insurance. But multiple times he was asked and multiple times he dodged the question. So I'd imagine that 5p cut to fuel duty could come back and be reversed if Labour get into power. Who knows, because they don't give a straight answer. And finally from Labour, they said that £64 million will be made available every year to fix the nation's 1 million potholes. Evidently though, that's going to take 5 years, so how many more are we going to have by the time the 5 years is over? Don't know, it just sounds like too little too late if you ask me. On to the Tories and poor old Rishi that had no dishy as a child. First it talks about the back-in drivers bill that was announced recently. This will impose restrictions on blanket 20-mile-an-hour speed limits being imposed by local councils. They'll only be able to put 20-mile-an-hour zones in following sort of public consultation. There are more restrictions around that, but it will stop a local authority coming in to say Bristol and saying now every 30-mile-an-hour road in Bristol is 20 miles an hour. That will be more restricted and more carefully rolled out in future. They've also said there's going to be a complete ban on pay-per-mile taxation systems. It's been thought for quite a long time that VED, most of you know it as road tax, even though it's not, I know, don't start, will be replaced with pay-per-mile charges. So cameras going up everywhere, or telematic systems in your car, GPS in your car, and you'll be charged per mile you travel in the car. That still looks likely to me, but the Tories are saying if they remain in, there'll be a ban on anything like that. And they've also said there'll be a reversal of the recent 𝙁𝙁𝙁𝙁𝙁 expansion. That's caused massive amounts of problems, loads of vandalism going on, loads of issues around that. So they've said, do you know what, we're going to pull it back, and 𝙁𝙁𝙁𝙁 will just remain for the more central London areas. They've said that 𝙁𝙁𝙁𝙁 has only had a mild to moderate effect on emissions and air quality, and therefore what's the point? Conservatives are saying that they will also give new powers to mayors and local authorities to bypass current restrictions, allowing them to build strategic new roads to improve traffic flow, so that in areas that are currently gridlocked, sort of night and day, local authorities and mayors will have the power to say, we need a new road to go in here to deal with this, and actually be able to get on with it and do it. They've also reaffirmed their commitment to Pump Watch, which is something to give all drivers access to live fuel pricing data. What they probably should do is actually be a bit more careful about capping the amount of margin that retailers can apply to fuel, but that's obviously a different subject altogether. And they're also going to develop a new national parking app, so it's easier to pay for parking. You won't need 15 different apps to go and park your car somewhere. And hopefully, if there is a national parking app, hopefully they'll be able to restrict the amount that's being charged for parking in some areas, because it's ridiculous. Utterly ridiculous. We've got high streets all around the country that are half empty or 3/4 empty, and then you look and it's £3 an hour to park your car there, so people go to an out of town retail park instead. Is it any surprise we're losing our high streets? I live just outside Bournemouth, and if you visited Bournemouth 20 years ago, you'd find it absolutely bustling, not an empty shop anywhere. You go there now and it's like a scene from Total Recall. And it's because parking is so blooming expensive. People just don't want to bother going there. I'll just give an honourable mention to the Lib Dems as well, who've basically said that they would reinstate the EV plug-in car grant. What are your thoughts, folks? Do any of these things sway the way you would vote? Or is, motoring issues the last of your worries, and are you more concerned with other things? Now, just for an election, every time I turn on the news, it just fills me with dread, because all I see are liars on there. So turn that off, keep watching my channel and subscribe. Then you'll be able to get everything as soon as it's released. Please give the video a thumbs up. Please leave a comment. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll catch you on the next one.